Hey guys, Jake back here again with another video. A little bit different scenery. It's finally winter time, so I'm like super pleased about that. So what I wanted to do today was I wanted to shoot a couple videos and talk a little bit about, in this video, fire kits. There's a lot of different videos and posts and all that good stuff online about fire kits and bushcraft fire kits, and you know what you should carry in them, what you shouldn't carry in them, all that good stuff. And you know, I've seen fire kits as small as just a ferro rod, all the way up to, you know, a big, huge, you know, pouch just full of fire starting stuff. And it's all really dependent on your skill level. Everybody's skill level is a little bit different. Everyone's environment is a little bit different. So that's all going to dictate what you carry. But what I wanted to do was show you a couple different small compact options that you can carry with you in the woods. You know, you can carry them for emergency if you really wanted to, or you can just, you know, carry them in your bushcraft kit or what have you. And it gives you a few options to kind of play around with whenever you're out in the woods. And they're nice and small and they're compact. It's not a, you know, a whole pouch just full of all kinds of different stuff you can use for fire starting. Some of those kits, in my opinion, are, you know, just a little bit overkill. I personally like to utilize the natural environment as much as I can, but you don't always have that option either, or sometimes you just don't feel like doing it. You know, if you come home from, or come back to your camp from hunting all day and you want to just get a fire going really quick, you don't always want to, you know, have to process down a tinder bundle or bird's nest or, you know, a bunch of fat wood or something like that. So, you know, having options is really nice to have whenever you're out in the field. So let me move the camera down in here. I'll show you a few different options that I put together, and maybe you guys get some ideas from it and let me know what you think. You guys will have to excuse the wind a little bit. It is a little bit windy out here today. We got a cold front moving in. As most of you probably know, some of you probably already have snow, but it's, you know, a couple snowstorms sweeping across the country. But anyways, so I've got a few different options laid out here, and I'm going to show you first off what I personally carry, and then, you know, something I used to carry, and then something that is really cheap and easy to put together. One thing I really focus on more than anything are ignition sources. I like to carry at least 3 ignition sources. That's just what I like to do. Some people carry 4 or 5 different ones. 3 works really well for me, and my personal 3 are going to be a ferro rod, matches, and a lighter. I don't like a magnifying glass as much, really, just because I don't want to have to rely on the sun being out in order to use it. I would rather just, you know, use a match or use my lighter. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind is these are expendable resources. They're not going to last forever, right? But with that being said, you're probably not going to use up your ferro rod, you know, in 3 or 4 outings. I'll say that. As long as you know proper fire preparation and tinder preparation, you'll be good to go. What I personally carry is the Exotac fire rod. This is the rod that I prefer myself. It's a really nice soft rod. Throws some really good sparks off of it. It's more of a mesh metal rod, so I mean, it just throws some absolutely hellacious sparks. So that's really what I prefer to carry. I like a softer ferro rod as opposed to a harder one. I don't care about it being used up at all. I bought it to use, right? So, and then on the other end, I've got an Exotac match cap that just has, I've been playing around with these Strike Anywhere matches, so it just has Strike Anywhere matches in it. The storm-proof matches are going to be your best option, obviously. I got a little duct tape wrapped around it too. And then I carry a Bic lighter. So I've got a Bic lighter in my pocket. You can dry it out whenever it's wet, wrap it with duct tape. A lot of people will trick these things out. But I keep this in my pocket, and this right here just hangs around my neck. So I've got the ferro rod, the striker, and then the matches and the lighter. So these right here are my 3 ignition sources. If I really wanted to, I could throw in, you know, a couple wet fires in my bag or something like that. It gives me some type of surefire or tinder to use, just in case I don't feel like prepping that much, especially when it comes like a tinder bundle or something like that. I won't have to worry about it. Or if it's really wet or snowy, I have the option of that wet fire. So, but this is what I personally carry and what I personally use. So another really good option, and something that I use for years, I still use it sometimes to this day just for nostalgic purposes more than anything. I think it is a really good designed ferro rod. These, in my opinion, don't get enough credit. This is the old school Strike Force ferro rods, right? So it's got a little place in the back where you can put some type of tinder. I just use a wet fire, and then it's got a rod, and then it has a striker. So it's all completely enclosed and encased. It's nice and big, so if you're wearing gloves, you can use it. I absolutely love this thing. I've used it for years and years and years. I have probably 4 or 5 of these at this point in time. But for a long time, I carried this right here, and then an Altoids 10 just like this. Now, you can put all kinds of different stuff in the Altoids 10, make your own combinations, do whatever you want. But this is pretty much what I would carry on a regular basis for the most part. I always kept a Bic lighter in it, a few wet fires, a small piece of fat wood, and then a Fresnel lens in the back of it. So this right here is a really inclusive fire kit for a really small package. It doesn't weigh that much. I would just carry this on my body, toss this in my bag, and if I needed a wet fire, I could grab one out of here and use it. Needed an extra lighter, piece of fat wood, what have you. And if you throw a small magnifying lens in here, then you've got some pretty good little options that you can use while you're out in the field and play around with or show other people in a pretty small package. I mean, it's got a lot of oomph for how small it is, I guess you could say. This is another great carry option as well, for an emergency and or for, just regular recreation in the outdoors. You just want to have a few different options just to try out. So these Strikeforce ferro rods, you can still find them on eBay for like 20 bucks. And then the wet fires are pretty cheap. Of course, the lighter, you got the Altoids 10. This one's probably close to 10 years old now. But again, just gives you a few different options, and it's a really nice small package you can throw into a haversack or a belt pouch or something like that. Okay, so the last one's going to be this one right here. This is what I would consider basically a full inclusive fire kit. Like, this has everything you absolutely need. If you were having trouble getting a fire going or you wanted plenty of options, this is about as big as I would go as far as a fire kit goes. It's pretty good size. This case is like a military decontamination kit case. Excuse the shooting in the background. Gun season is tomorrow, and there's people out the other piece of property, and they're sighting in their guns. But so again, this is what I would consider a full-fledged, like, big fire kit. This is the biggest I would go. Like I said, a lot of times I just roam around the woods with something like this because I like to utilize natural resources. But maybe if you didn't have as much experience, you didn't quite fully understand the all the different resources you can use for fire making yet, but you were learning, you're just a beginner, this would be a really good kit for you. Anyways, we'll just hop into it. So that's what it looks like, right? So first off, we got a ferro rod, right? Ferrocerium rod. It's on a lanyard, so you can hang it around your neck, a little night eyes clip. There's a little clip on the outside of this case too. If you really wanted to, you could just clip this ferro rod to the outside. Then you have it on the outside, so you can just use the ferro rod if you want to. You don't have to open it up. Just another option. But small ferro rod. And then we got all kinds of goodies in here. So we've got 3 wet fires. So this is like your drop dead emergency fire, cubes. Or if you're just lazy and don't feel like, using any type of natural resources, you can just throw a wet fire cube in there, hit it with a lighter, and you're good to go, right? So we got 3 of those. Orange Bic lighter, right? Again, so it's another ignition source. We've got 2 ignition sources in there. We've got 3 cut down pieces of fat wood. So you have a couple different little options there. Fresnel lens or Fresnel lens, however you pronounce it. That way you can utilize the sun to make fire or create an ember that you can then transfer into a tinder bundle or bird's nest, whatever you want to call it. So you have 3 ignition sources here, and then this right here is just one of those El Cheapo match cases. It's just filled with cotton balls and Vaseline, and it's wrapped around in duct tape on the outside. So really, including the duct tape, you've got 4 different types of tinders here that you could use. So this is a really, really nice little kit for someone who maybe doesn't have a ton of experience yet, but they are working on it and they're learning. You could fit a ton of stuff in these little cases. You can make little first aid kits, fire kits, trapping kits, what have you. These are actually really good little cases. I like them quite a bit. They've been around for years, but I don't see a whole lot of people using them as much anymore. And I think that they are a nice little piece of kit if you can get your hands on one. So we could throw all that down in there. and everything fits in. And there's plenty of room left in here too. So if you had some natural tinder you found and you needed a place to stuff it, you could always stuff it down here in this little case and you'll be good to go. You take up a ton of room in your backpack, but it is a little bit bigger than some of these other options like this right here, this small setup, or this setup that I like to roll with, where it's basically just ignition sources and a little bit of duct tape for a fire starter. But a lot of good options here. Again, all this depends on your skills and your abilities and your knowledge of the resources around you and your environment. Environment also is going to dictate what you carry. Someone, you know, in the eastern woodlands is probably going to carry a little bit more than somebody in the desert. It's just how it is. The weather here is a little bit more severe than it is there, in its own way, I guess you could say. Alrighty guys, that pretty much concludes the video. Hopefully it didn't bore you too bad. Again, these are just kind of my thoughts after, you know, spending years in the woods and teaching hundreds of students. Kind of my thoughts behind fire kits. You don't have to go super overboard, but you know, someone who is just starting out in this stuff or just learning, they're going to carry a little bit more than a seasoned outdoorsman. That's just how it is, right? But you don't always have to go overboard either. Play around with stuff, play around with different tinders, barks, grasses, plants, you know, resinous trees. So there's a lot of different options out there, but once you know how to use those, you'll find yourself, you know, really dumbing down your fire kit and getting down to just the bare bones and carrying that for the most part. But hopefully you guys like this video, got some good ideas from it. It's been a while since I posted a video. I got a wild hair this weekend and wanted to post up some videos, so I've been out here filming for the past couple of days. I hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving, and to all my hunters out there that like to hunt, especially if you're in Ohio, gun season is this coming week. Hopefully you guys get to punch out your tags. So again, let me know in the comments what you think, what you like to carry for your fire starting kits whenever you're just recreating in the outdoors. So the next video I post is going to be a follow-up to this one. It's going to be basically all the natural tinders that I have, at least on this property, that you can use in conjunction with your fire kit to actually make fire, create fire, or save it for, you know, a later time. There's a lot of different resources out there if you really get to looking and do your research. There's a lot of good stuff to be used. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, get out in the woods, and go learn something.